Okay, so here's the melody that we are going to work with. Just something nice and short to get started. Now, this is a melody that Bach harmonized a couple times, and I'm going to kind of do it along with what Bach did. Um, but let's start by just hearing this short little melody. Okay, so what key are we in? Let's just kind of use our ear to figure that out. Our key signature is telling us G major or E minor, right? We don't have any accidentals here. So the odds are that we're in something indicated by the key signature. If we saw a bunch of accidentals, we might say we shouldn't trust the key signature. But there are no accidentals, so let's assume G major or E minor. What's the more likely culprit here? We start on a B, which is a third of G major, but a fifth of E minor, right? So that might lead me to think that E minor makes a lot of sense, because we like 5-1 relationships, right? But let's go to the end. We end on a G, and let's hear how we fall into that G. Look at this: 4, 3, 2, 1, right? Just right in there. So G really feels like the end because we walk right down the scale, actually all the way from here. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Walking right down the scale right into that G. So I think G major is a pretty safe bet. So what do we want to do for cadences? So we obviously want a 1 here, right? So let's just label this for now. Actually, let's not. Let's put in all the notes for this last chord. So let's see if we can make a perfect authentic cadence, right? I'm not positive we can, but let's try it. So I need a G in the bass, and I have a G in the soprano. So that already is going to tell us that the G is going to be doubled in this if it's going to be a perfect authentic cadence. And that's okay because it's the root, and that's a perfectly fine note to double. So let's do G. Let's put a B all the way up here. Oops, I'm screwing up my voices already. Okay, so G down there. Let's put a B up here. And what are we missing? A D. So let's put a D right there. Okay? G, B, D, G. So G major. So that's our 1 chord. Now, if this is a perfect authentic cadence, we need a 5 chord right before it. So what are we going to do here? Can we use this A to make a 5 chord? So the 5 chord of G is D major. The notes in D major are D, F sharp, and A. So yes, we can. Note that we're in 3/4 here. So we have 1, 2, and then an empty space. We could put a chord on that empty space, or we could put a chord right here. Typically, when we're doing this kind of thing, we do 1 chord per quarter note, regardless of the melody. So we should have a chord on beat 3 here. And if this is going to be a perfect authentic cadence, that has to be our 5 chord, right? Because that 5 chord, root position 5 chord, has to come right before the 1 chord. So I actually need to not use this A because I need to put a 5 chord here. So let's see if we can do it. I'm just going to put, oops. I'm just going to put a random note. Oops. I'm going to make those rests in just a second. There we go. because I'm trying to put a chord here on the third beat. So, D. Now, what are my voice leading rules here? My 5 has to go down to 1, which we have. My chordal third, which is my F sharp, has to go up to G. So that's going to be, we're going to have to do the same thing again here. It's going to have to be right there. Right, this F sharp goes up to G. Okay, so that actually has to be in the soprano voice. So I've got a low soprano voice here. Oops. So that causes a problem, doesn't it? Because I can't add another soprano voice. Because my soprano voice is holding that A, and I can't change that because that's the melody. So I'm going to have to do a little bit of cheating. To get this chord on beat 3, which I have to do if this is going to be a perfect authentic cadence. So what am I missing here? I have D, F, and A. Okay, so here is my 5 chord with a little bit of a cheat there because this F technically doesn't go up to G. This A goes down to G, and this F goes down to D because the voices, right? This is the soprano. This is the alto. Let's leave that for now. We'll come back to it and look at it once we get all the rest of our notes in there and see if we're okay with that, if we can make that work. Okay, now let's go to our opening chord. We have a B. So can we make a tonic chord work? That's kind of our first thing to do is on the opening chord is to say, does tonic work? And in the key of G, B is the third. I think that works just fine. So let's go down here and let's do a G chord. Let's go G. Let's go a little, oops. So I gotta get it on beat 3 again. And in MuseScore, it doesn't let me just jump right to beat 3. I gotta like put these rests in and then delete them. It's kind of weird. And let's do D. G, D, and B. So what do I want to double here? Well, the easiest and safest would be that G, right? Let's put it right there. Okay, so that is a very fine way to start. Now, one thing that's worth noting here is you'll notice that I have a huge gap right here and a smaller gap right there. I think we talked about this earlier, but let me just point it out one more time. This is nice. This is a nice way to voice a chord. We like there to be, if there's going to be a big gap anywhere in your chord, put it between the bass and the tenor. That makes a really nice sound. That makes the tenor, alto, and soprano fairly close together and a big gap before the bass. We like that. That's a good sound. Let's hear it. That's awfully fast, isn't it? Let's try slowing that down. All right, let's try that. Okay, so now we've got our cadences. We've got a tonic chord here. It's not part of the cadence. It's just one, but I kind of include it in this step. And then we've got a perfect authentic cadence, 5-1 at the end. Now, let's move on to our second step, which is to identify what we're going to do for the harmony for the rest of this.